Okay, this is called the Daycare Adventure Series and it's Ayden the Scientist. The storm outside the daycare rumbled. Miss Rose told the children it was time to get out the colouring books and find their favourite pictures. All of a sudden, the door flew open and in the doorway stood a spry young man in a white lab coat. Miss Rose said, "Close the door before the rain gets in." With that, a bolt of lightning popped behind him and he jumped in, closing the door behind him. "Are you Ayden?" Miss Rose asked. "Yes, I am," said the young lad. "Here's your cubby." Miss Rose pointed to an open block. "I'm afraid you're too old for colouring," she said. "How about if you play with this science set?" His eyes lit up. "Thank you," he said happily. Ayden walked over to a desk and Miss Rose set him up to work at it. He was happy. Miss Rose had not put him with the little kids. His mum worked late as she did not think he was old enough to be alone so long. Miss Rose offered to help. He started to pull out project cards from the box and saw a crystal growing project. This looked interesting. Ayden began to read the instructions and gather supplies from the box that he needed. The 2 glass containers along with the magnesium sulfate and hot water from the sink. Ayden began to mix the solution and put it in the fridge. He was having so much fun doing the science experiment that he did not even notice the time passing. This was better than Ayden had thought it would ever be. Time was taken from the fridge. This was so exciting. He was about to have a mound of crystals. Helmut and Mason were peeping over the edge of the desk. "What are you doing?" asked Mason. "Growing crystals," Ayden answered. "Can we watch?" Helmut asked. "Only if you're very quiet and promise not to touch anything," said Ayden. Over the next few hours, the boys watched as the clump of crystals grew and grew. They had not noticed the storm outside had stopped until Miss Rose asked if they wanted to go outside. Ayden went to his backpack and took out his video camera. "Miss Rose, may I make a movie with my new friends?" Ayden asked. She looked at the young boys and said, "As long as there's no fighting, go out and play in the yard and have fun." The boys ran outside and found a quiet corner to make into their movie set. Mason jumped from the swing and said, "Look, I'm Superman." And Helmut came down the slide and said, "I'm Spider-Man." Ayden was happy to have such wonderful friends. Mason was making funny faces when his brother came to get him. "Mommy came to get you," Lucas said. "I've got to go now, friends," Mason said. "Maybe your mom will bring you back again. I had fun." He shook Ayden's hand and ran to his mum. Helmut marched behind Ayden as they went to explore the play yard. They found a rabbit hole and noticed there were baby bunnies in the den. Helmut was going to grab one and Ayden stopped him. "Do not touch the babies or the mummy will not take care of them." He was worried that the other young children would accidentally hurt them, so he went to tell Miss Rose and took Helmut with him. Miss Rose looked up when they came in. "What are you two about?" she asked. "We found 2 baby bunnies," the boys said, at the same time pointing to the door. The boys went back to check the crystals while Miss Rose went to check on the bunnies. Helmut thought that Ayden was so smart and was so amazing and how the crystals had grown. Ayden had made a video of his new experiment and his new friends. It was Helmut's time to go home with his mom. Helmut took her hand and brought her to meet the very smart Ayden. Ayden was very happy to be the centre of attention and cheerfully showed what they had been doing. It was late when Ayden's mum arrived to fetch him. "Did you get your homework done?" she asked. He was so happy to see her and thanked her for bringing him here. As she was trying to put on his coat, he was trying to show her his video. Miss Rose waved as they headed out of the door. Ayden could hardly wait for the next adventure. The end.